Let's deal with LPG issues now. Well, LPG marketing companies had earlier accused government of deliberately attempting to kick the LPG marketing companies out of business. In a statement released by the Energy Ministry today, however, the ministry noted that it is recalling the policy to allow for a more all-inclusive dialogue on the matter. The group further called on governments to, in the future, engage all necessary stakeholders before implementing any policy. Public Relations Officer of the Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketing Companies, Bernard Donko Redu, has joined me in the studio for a bit more on this conversation. You're welcome.
Thank you, my dear.
Let's start from the beginning. What were the engagements that went on before the policy, the ministry even started talking about the policy to roll it out?
Well, actually, it's a policy which emanated from the ministry, to be implemented through NPA. They had engaged us in some committee settings, but we were of the view that the committee wasn't addressing our concerns. And because we realized that even our representation on the committee, over 13, we had just one representation. So we thought that we were not having good representation on the committee. So there were some engagements, but just that we thought our voices were not being heard.
So if there were engagements and your voices weren't heard, did you communicate to the ministry?
You see, whilst we were engaging, yes, we did that. But whilst we were engaging them, we had information that permit had been given to an energy company to even start a policy which had not even seen approval. So we were alarmed. That is why we had to come out to adhere to all the measures that we had wanted to initially.
Of course. Well, your response, your reaction, etc., when this policy, well, when it was announced in some of the newspapers, seems to have been heard by the ministry, and so they're recalling it. Does that suffice?
Oh yes, as I sit here, I'm a bit relaxed, because unlike last week when I came in a very belligerent mood, today I'm a bit relaxed. And I say it's good news not for only the LPG operators. It's also good news for government, because you see, the government prides itself as being a listening government, and the government that takes the interests of its people at heart. So it is good that at least in our situation, the people of Ghana would actually believe the government that indeed is a listening government. So it's good news for us as the operators. It's good news for government, because government has listened to our concerns and has really considered our concerns and realized that they were very good concerns, legitimate ones.
So one of the concerns you raised was that this would push many outlets.
All of us.
All of you?
It was going to push all of us out of business.
Okay.
Because you see, by the implementation, they were going to set up what they call bottling plants, where cylinders will be filled for distribution. It means that people won't come to our outlets to take gas from us. So it means we are going to go out of business, not only as the tanker drivers, and everybody has that generates income from that sector.
But people have said that, people who have argued for the industry have said this is a good policy, because it will reduce the risks that we actually open ourselves up to. Why don't organizations or companies like those who are filling gas cylinders now take advantage of the new policy and also begin to put together or put up filling plants? You
see, let me make this clear here.
Please.
It is not the object of the policy that we were up against. The object of the policy one, to expand the LPG usage across the country and to increase the safety in terms of delivery. We said, listen, on our own, we've been contracting loans from the bank to increase our operations. We've improved on our safety. So if indeed the object of the policy is to attain widespread LPG usage as well as improve the safety, we are doing this already. So why wouldn't you support us? Because you see, it would cost over $8 million to $10 million to build up one bottling plant. So if it is issue about safety, you see, before you set up an outlet, you need to get approval from MPA, EPA, Town and Country Planning, Fire Service. So we have people who regulate our safety. So if they think that we have some defects in our operations in terms of safety, the best thing is probably would have come out with a comprehensive policy in terms of safety and to give us training. And if you think probably we don't have the financial muscle to increase our spread over the nation, you support us financially. So it was the implementation which was going to kick us out of business. So right from the scratch, we made it very clear that, you see, we are not against the object of the policy, but how they intend to implement the policy. That was very problematic.
Now it's been recalled. The ministry is going to sit on it, but we've had a similar issue. If I should raise, give you an example, the towing levy, where, it was suspended. The next thing we had, the committee in Parliament had okayed it. Whatever that means is also another topic for a discussion. But what are your expectations now that it has been recalled? Are you engaging the ministry better now?
You see, ours is a bit different because actually we had some engagements with the deputy minister and he actually had our concerns. And you see, per the communication, we know that they seek to do two things. First, a recall of the entire policy to really have a thoughtful second look at it. Then secondly, to really make us actually the stakeholders, the key stakeholders. So we are expecting that even in the event that the government would have to come out again with the same object, we should be the people the government should resort to in implementing the objects of the policy. So you see, let us also let Ghanaians know that it is not as if we are against the improvements or the development the government seeks to bring into our operations. All we were trying to say that if you want to do this for us, since we are doing it, help us do it. But to take us out and bring another person to do it, that was our problem. Because, of course, we are men now, but everybody wants to see his business grow. So we want to see our business grow. We want to see our business improved. And my dear, nobody would sink over 700,000 Ghana cedis and just see it in flames. So even issues of safety, it was a major concern for us. So there were issues that we were actually trying to resolve and to improve upon. So all that we were saying is that, listen, we are doing the objects of the policy. Help us to achieve it.
Okay. You're hopeful that this will go well?
We believe so, because you see, the communique now was not to only LPG operators, it was to the entire populace. Okay, so the government has come out with a communique stating that it has rejoined the policy and it would reconsider it with our input and our concerns. Okay. So now it is not only addressed to us, but it's the entire nation. So if you should come back on a U-turn on that, you wouldn't have only shortchanged LPG operators, but the entire populace. Okay. And that'll be there. So we believe that government will stay true to what the government has said and will stick to the reasons for the withdrawal of the policy. Okay, we'll be here to trumpet it when it happens. Thank you very much for passing through. I've been speaking with Bernard Donko Redu, who is PRO for the LPG marketing companies. And of course, they are relaxed, he says. Away from that, we're still staying in the energy sector. The Minister for Energy, Boakye Jako, earlier today inaugurated an 8-member committee of ECG headed by Kelly Gajepo. Addressing the newly sworn-in board, Mr. Ejako revealed that the assets of the ECG will be leased to a private investor to operate and invest for 20 years. He has also charged the board to immediately work towards the success of the private sector participation transaction.
Very urgent issues that the board must tackle immediately after your inauguration of today. Under the concession arrangement, the assets of ECG will be leased to a private investor to manage, operate, and invest in for a period of 20 years. ECG will still remain the asset owner on behalf of the government of Ghana. The concessionaire is expected to pay for the use of ECG's assets. It is therefore imperative that ECG updates and hands over a credible list of assets to the concessionaire. A project is currently underway for a technical and condition assessment of ECG's assets. The timely completion of this project is very crucial to the success of the PSP transaction. I urge the board to give it your maximum attention. The PSP transaction envisages that ECG will be an active asset owner. The board must ensure that the final request for proposal and all complementary documents adequately provide for ECG to play an effective and efficient monitoring role. You must take a keen interest in the entire PSP transaction process and ensure that what will remain of ECG is reorganized into a viable company capable of performing its active oversight role for the benefit of our dear country.
Energy Minister Wache Jaku there. At the same event, also, it witnessed the swearing in of a 7-member investigative committee of the bust off-spec saga. It is headed by Lawrence Dakwa. The minister charged the committee to, within a month, submit the findings into other things, and among other things, determine the circumstances that created the off-spec product. They are also to determine if the product can be corrected. If not, they are to determine the alternative use of the product and submit an advice to the ministry on the necessary technical, administrative and legal actions to be taken.
We wish to assure the general public that the ministry is determined to ensure that the integrity of petroleum products supply in the country is protected. In view of this, the ministry has constituted a committee to look into the matter. The terms of reference for the committee include but not limited to the following. 1. Determine the circumstances that created the off-spec products. 2. Review the procedures undertaken by BOST to evacuate the product. 3. Ascertain the quality and remaining quantity of the product. 4. Determine if the product can be corrected. If not, determine the alternative uses of the product. And 5. Review the transaction. The committee is expected to advise the ministry on the necessary technical, administrative, and legal actions to be taken.